Hello and welcome everybody to the Semifinals Joke-3 Map Pool Showcase. Today I am joined by Sparky.
Hello, excited to be here. Been here for the last couple of hours and excited to close out what has been a very nice quarterfinals weekend. Gotta show the players what to expect. Moving on forward, we are officially that mid to late game now. No more punches being pulled here as we bump up the difficulty once again.
Yeah, we definitely had to up the scaling. Too many strong players around this time. But yeah,
Sure.
why don't we just get right into it with Rice number 1.
Alrighty, let's go ahead and get on right to it. Bit of a disclaimer, I have no idea what these maps look like. I am not privy to any of this information.
Yeah, good.
I'm the last person allowed to know what these maps look like until right now.
Well, this is Rise 1, Need to De-Stress by Landroot. It is a fairly consistent map. This will also be the only V1 double S you'll see in the replays. Yeah, difficulty has stepped up. It is 192 BPM, so it's kind of hard on the stamina, I'd say.
Yeah, a little bit longer than some of the other maps we saw last weekend, 2 minutes 20 seconds. Like you were saying, probably the easiest map in this pool. Pretty straightforward, a couple of odd numbered bursts to kind of keep you awake throughout, but looking just like a faster Rice 1, similar to stuff we've seen in the past couple of weekends.
Yeah, it is mostly 1/4 snap until I would say like the last quarter where it starts throwing a few little surprises at you, but we'll just stay tuned for that when it comes around.
Yeah, overall nothing. A couple of doublets. Okay. And overall, nothing too terrible. I feel like anybody that might not have enjoyed the Rice 1 from last round because of the heavy LN use in it, maybe straying away from what they were expecting Rice 1 to be. This one might be a little bit more in their wheelhouse, maybe trending more towards a comfort pick once again.
It is getting a little denser now with a few of those repeated triplets, and at 190 BPM those are quite fast. I think if you're a full alter, you definitely have a advantage in this map over single tappers, I would say. But here is the funny ending I was talking about with some very interesting 1/6 usage.
Yeah, just something to make sure you're paying attention. Keep your hands on the wheel until the right ends. But that'll do it for Rice 1. We can go quickly into Rice 2. And the notes for this one are funny, the ones that were given to me. Basically Rice 1, but bursts are more frequent throughout. So if you thought Rice 1 was a little bit too boring, maybe this one can be a little bit more entertaining for you.
Oh, the bunnies are back.
Oh, Lord.
Let's go.
Okay. They reconvened. Bit of a different setting this time around. A lot more.
Yeah, wonder what the lore is behind that.
I mean, they're a traveling band. They travel to wherever the hell this is.
Yeah, well, this is Anokumene by Jun Kuroda. 186 BPM, so very similar speed to the last map actually. Just that I would say, well, this one has a few more even patterns, but also has set in the notes the bursts that will appear right here. A bunch of 1/6 bursts. They're quite isolated, but not easy at all.
for sure. And then some of those having the 1/4 transition out of it. I was alluding to it over the course of this weekend that it's like what's really separating the upper echelon of the players remaining in this tournament is their ability to transition between some of these different snapped bursts and maintain their accuracy throughout, because some of the players were able to kind of smash their way through some of those patterns at the expense of some of their accuracy, but in order to make it from here on out, they definitely need to have a level of control that might not have been needing to be asked of them through earlier rounds. So it'll be interesting to see how they tackle this particular pick.
And yeah, it's a little bit of a shorter one compared to Rise 1. Just less than 2 minutes. And here we go. We have Rise 3, Run to You. This is, I would say, the hardest out of the 3 Rise maps.
Yeah, I see on the notes. We should have nerfed this. Is a very lovely thing to see on the notes. But I mean, hey, if you thought the first 2 Rice maps were a little bit too easy, maybe this was one that you'll want to rest your hat on as you see the first isolated burst coming through there. Some build up here before we get into the next section.
It warns you, and then there's this section which has 1/6 burst and 1/8 burst just intertwined with each other in many different ways, as well as just being between 1/4 streams. Very dense.
Yeah, just overall a very technical test of your ability to basically start up and slow down at the drop of a hat. And like I mentioned, I mean, if you can handle those transitions, this is probably looking like a pretty downright no-brainer to use on your opponent come match time.
Yeah, and that was by far the techiest section in this map. The remainder is pretty easy in comparison, but you should not fall asleep on these ending patterns. There is a lot of switching between even and odd numbered patterns here that is very easy to trip up on.
Yeah, very much evident. You see a lot of doubles into triples into other numbered streams before the quick 1/8s and 1/6 kind of break up some of the monotony there, but you can make it through that relatively unscathed. Then once again, this is probably a pick a couple of players will be eyeing up.
Yeah, definitely one for the more the players with a higher skill ceiling. And it's time for the stream map.
Yeah, it's gonna be 13 Charlotte coming through here, and we're increasing the BPM to 186 BPM on the streams. I imagine there's some interesting bursts as well to kind of keep you on your toes, but basically 1/4 dominated, I would imagine.
Yeah, so this first part of the map is actually, I think, 192 BPM, and then there is a BPM change in like roughly around 400 combo or something. So I guess that just exists, but yeah, this basically is like end time. Like, it's not too much faster, but the stream length has been increased a lot, the stream complexity, like some of the patterns are a little tougher to read and just hit, I guess, and there's a few more bursts.
AC's broken up 1/4 streams, similar to how we saw in end time. I think that was a snap change if I looked at that correctly.
Yeah.
It's not all
That
straightforward.
1/3, I think.
So gotta watch out for that. Your kind of autopiloting with some 1/4 could find yourself spiking some misses if you're not too
There as
careful.
well.
And as we continue on, a quarter of the chart left to go here. I mean, once you really settle down into longer streams, it's really just about maintaining focus, and you see the similar motifs from End Time making their reappearance here with those transitional bursts into 1/4, going back into the bursts. So if you're able to handle them on End Time, just crank up the BPM a tiny little bit, and you should be able to swing a performance on this as well. So
Yeah, and the ending being quite stamina heavy, as is usually customary for a stream map. But it's time for LN. We have the 89's Momentum, which will be our very slow LN. It kind of depends, because it actually has a lot of 1/8, so you could see it as like a 256 BPM speed LN. But yeah, this will have, I guess, a lot of different snap changes that you have to control while keeping track of your LN control.
yeah, some not straightforward triples thrown in there just for good measure, making sure that you're not just kind of free forming some of those LN structures. You get into just a little bit of a vocal interlude. Pretty easy to keep track of where the LNs are going, kind of premeditated, but then the transition into this bridge into the back half now. Get these doublets that also keep you on your toes. I mean, it just throws a little bit of everything at you. Not really one that keeps you comfortable for too long.
Yeah, and the holds do get kind of long sometimes, so this is definitely not one for those players that tend to just kind of hope to tap through all the LNs. This will definitely make you break if you do that.
Yeah, we've definitely seen some players opt for combo over accuracy on some of these LNs. Ooh, that was a funny transition.
Even know what snap that was, probably 112 doublets.
You know, just normal things. We're in semifinals now. We can expect some double-digit snaps to start getting thrown in. But I mean, still probably manageable for most of the players. It doesn't happen frequently enough to cause discomfort, but if you're not expecting it, then I can imagine some spiked runs here at the end. But that'll do it for the first LN map of the pool. We can continue on to the second one here, and it's going to be Glass by Yunosuke.
Yeah, speeding it up just a little bit to 156. This is going to be a little more mid-speed LN pick, and this one's really going to be tight on the releases. There's a bunch of 1/8 releases here that are just really tough to hack. Like right there.
Yeah, the fact that those doublets are LN doublets can cause a little bit of a spot of bother. You can't crush those as easily as you would like compared to maybe rice doublets of the similar snaps. So definitely got to watch out for that. Pay it the attention it deserves as you continue on here.
And there are definitely some technical elements to this map as well. The different snappings, the bursts. So you gotta keep track of that while you're trying to hit these very tight release snaps.
Yeah, these really short LNs, basically glorified rice notes. So you can kind of get away way kind of just tapping your way through those. And honestly, you might actually need to actually tap them like they actually are rice notes. If not, if you hold it for a moment too long, that's when you start getting those 200s inadvertently if you're not too careful. Bit of a break thrown in there as well. Get a chance to look at your opponent's scores.
Cheeky little 1/3 transition.
Telegraph those, so you should be able to expect it coming if you're listening to the music. It doesn't really sneak up on you all that quickly. So,
And yeah, this ending section is pretty chill. There's one kind of evil doublet part right there, but that's pretty much just a repeat of the intro now, and that's it for the map.
yeah, if you're able to handle the doublets in hot chocolate, I think the being more sparse in appearance should be fine to handle, but definitely don't want to go into this one blind as we move on over to LN3. And this is the first time we get to mention full size is now officially bigger. We are moving on to a best of 11 format. So first player to 6 points now will be seeing themselves taking the victory in their match.
Yep, so you have a whole nother LN to choose from. This one being pretty fast, not 190, I would say. But that also means that most of the LNs are going to be pretty short, so you might get away with tapping some of them. But what you mainly have to worry about here is these just full LN sections with some pretty dense 1/4 streams. Like right there.
Yeah, don't want to rush those inadvertently or even drag them because you're basically compounding the bad judgments you could potentially be getting compared to normal Rice 1/4 streams. But we get into this build up into the back half. Gonna wait to see what the drop brings us here.
Here you have a bunch of 1/3s occasionally, and some of them even strung at the end of 1/4 streams, so that's gonna be a little bit tricky.
Yeah, I could potentially see players rounding those snaps out a little bit, turning those 1/3s into 1/4s inadvertently as they try and make their way through those streams. So gotta watch out for that as we make our way to this outro. Some loose
This
releases.
is the entire outro.
Oh
It's
boy.
just this. I
Imagine
swear this is the
players
hardest part.
imagine players being neck and neck coming down into this section and just trading 200 releases. I cannot wait to see it.
Well, that rounds out the LNs. Let's move on to Hybrid. We have Hybrid number 1, Edelweiss by Tajimo Yomigi, I think.
Sounds about right.
Another rather slow one. But this one, the snaps in this one are off the charts, I would say. It starts off pretty tame. Obviously it's a hybrid, so it's not going to have as much LN focus. But that just means that the actual technical patterns here are going to be that much harder.
Yeah, overall straightforward introduction. Like you mentioned, some interesting snaps here and there, so definitely gotta watch out for that. The spacing on some of these streams aren't as straightforward as they may appear. You can definitely see some bigger gaps, maybe some smaller ones as well if you're really paying attention. So definitely gotta watch out for that. I imagine some players might be sight reading this for the first time.
Very big burst.
Oh. Gotta watch out for that as well.
And
I can imagine on the stage is non-stop at this point. The middle section here is probably going to be a turning point for a couple of players in their match.
Yeah, the little solo. Oh, this part is really funny. There's like a bunch of different melodies layered on top of each other. And because it's one key, some of those end up being kind of tight snaps.
Gotta really focus on what's going on at that time. If you can make it through that, then this outro kind of goes back to more standard 1/4. I think there are some deceptive snappings in there, but can't tell from first glance.
And a little streamy section to end it off.
And that'll do it, unless there's a surprise here at the end. No, there isn't. And that'll do it for the first hybrid of the pool. Gonna move on to
the easiest one, by the way. This is hybrid 2. It's gonna be Symmetric by DJ and Citrus, also known as Isomers. It's 200 BPM, so quite the fastest map we've seen so far, I think. That isn't, well, yeah, the fastest map so far in this pool.
Yeah, and the notes say that this is basically a sequel to the hybrid 2 of last round, which was Empura. So if you found success on that one, this one might be up your wheelhouse as we get through that introduction. And I can see where the influence is on some of these 1/4 streams. Very broken up, a little bit hard to tell where some of these more polyrhythmic patterns start to get thrown into the mix as well.
Yeah, a bit more technical than that map, and it also has the occasional burst. Now, the snaps here are kind of funny. I think it's 1/3 and 1/2.
And we get into the next build-up.
Very big burst there. It's actually really hard at 200 BPM.
Might just find people overstreaming it to compensate for the speed. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out, but going into this section, the build up into the transition to the last quarter. Again, those 1/8 making their appearance one more time.
Yeah, that chorus was probably the densest part of the map. Now the outro is kind of just a repeat of the intro and kind of that middle section as well. So if you hit that, you're probably good.
And that'll do it for Hybrid 2. As we mentioned before, the map pool gets a little bit bigger now that we are in a best of 11 format. Welcome to Hybrid number 3.
This map's kind of crazy. It's not Angel. It's a very modest speed of 166 BPM, but this has some straight up alien level patterns. This whole song basically is just very weird. So this is gonna be just a ton of different snaps, a ton of different just moods, honestly, throughout this map.
Yeah, it sounds pretty true to form for Meta Room. Very freeform, very experimental in the sounds that they produce, and you can see it in the patterning as well. A lot of doublets kind of littering the field as you try and make your way through the more standard 1/4 in between. And some very tight releases as well.
Yeah. This section is a bit more of a breather, though it does introduce some slightly longer, just normal streams with the occasional bursts inside of them. And now it starts getting more technical again. And this is probably the densest part of the whole map.
Something to point out as well, the map lengths for the majorities of these have been in and around that 2-minute mark. So not really having to focus for too long and kind of hit your head against something that's maybe teetering on that 3.5, 4-minute mark that we saw last round. So that bodes well with the map pool getting bigger.
And here we have the tight release section, which just has a bunch of those 1/8 releases, as well as some variable releases there. Really just a bit of everything.
Yeah. By and far one of the harder maps in this pool already, just based on how technical it is getting. But that'll do it for the hybrids. We move on to the first speed map of the pool.
Speed already. Alright, we have Gehenna. So spoiler alert, there's gonna be 2 speed maps now. And this is the slower of the 2. It's at 250, which is going to make it a little more stamina focused. So you're gonna see some streams that are longer than 7 nodes. So that's kind of a skill you either have or you don't. So it'll be interesting to see that in matches. But first you have these kind of triplet sections to, I guess, get you primed and ready. And now you have the stamina killer.
Oh, there are. We're pushing what? If these are what, 1/8? We're pushing what, 500 BPM?
It's pretty fast.
Just a little bit. That being
This
said,
section also has a bunch of LMs, so don't get tripped up by those.
Yeah, it's always nasty going into a burst, knowing that there's an LN awaiting you at the end, just waiting to see if you are going to overstream it. Varying snaps on these LN streams. Now remember, it is a speed pick, not a rice pick. So, for those of you wondering,
never said it was rice.
Exactly. For those of you wondering who put these noodles in my streams, that's why we name it that way. I say we as if though I have any hand in this, but you get the point.
It's insurance.
Yeah, I like to just call it anti-mashing measures.
Yeah. Very tricky in outro there. Kind of reminiscent of Rocky Bunya from last year, which was finals. So, but we are stepping up a little.
Just a little
Second speed.
Yep, so those of you wanting to get rid of the speed category, good luck. There are 2 maps now, so you're gonna have to pick your poison if you don't want to deal with this category at all.
Yeah, we have the return of Masahiro Godspeed Aoki, the absolute god. He, I think, made an appearance in JOKE3 and JOKE2. Well, he's back again. This time a speed map. I think in JOKE2 was also a speed map. This one is 280 BPM, which is the fastest map we've seen so far. So the bursts are also gonna be the fastest we've seen so far. But not as long as the previous map.
Yeah, now pushing 560 BPM if you're doing the math at home, I believe. And has some pretty technical snaps to read through as well. I think those were, what, some 1/6 after a 1/8 burst. So definitely starting to vary up the snaps in some of these speed picks. You're not just monotonously moving from 1/4 into 1/8. You actually have to put a little bit of thought into some of those transitions.
And one thing I will say is that the time signatures in the song are kind of weird. Like, they're not your standard 4/4. So you might find it a little bit tricky to kind of get into a rhythm with these patterns. So that's one thing you're kind of gonna have to get used to when playing this map. This section is the densest by far. Those bursts.
Dense and technical. So definitely gotta watch out for that. And some of those sections in between, definitely not giving you much respite as you realize now that you're only halfway done with the chart. And you continue on in horror for what is to come in this ending.
Yeah, 3 minutes 42. That's very long, so we could say this is also stamina draining in its own right.
Yeah, but it has enough variance compared to that first speed pick to kind of give them both their own, I would say, flavors. Like I mentioned at the start, it's like pick your poison. Which one do you want to suffer through if you both don't kind of just handshake, ban both of the speed picks?
Yeah, gentleman's agreement.
Which means that other categories do get left open. So, I mean, gotta practice something at some point, and what better way to prepare yourself for what is to come in finals and beyond than by, I mean, maybe just, I don't know, sucking it up and learning how to play some of these faster speed picks.
Yeah, just getting faster.
Like, just move your hands faster.
It's easy.
It's just that easy. But as this one comes to an end, that'll do it for, I guess, the normal maps in this pool, the ones that don't involve any gimmicks. And speaking of gimmicks, we can introduce the person who creates these SV charts. We have Pataraj here with us to talk a little bit about the upcoming map. Pataraj, how you doing?
Yeah, I've been doing the SVs from the beginning of the tournament, and I'm continuing to do them. Welcome a new me with Spider Tank, and this one is noticeably slower than what did I chart in quarterfinals already? From the Rave?
Yeah, you did.
So yeah, it's gonna be noticeably slower, and it is entirely single tappable, by the way. But Spider Tank is much more, I guess, unpredictable and unintuitive to learn. And also, Spider Tank is gonna be much more, I guess, focused on Ellen gimmicks. So the ones who are rejoicing to get an SV as yet another Rice pick are not gonna be pleased by the surprise. But yeah, in any case, I forgot who played this. I think Jaye did.
Yeah, he did. It was one of his 2 replays.
Oh yeah, true. So yeah, this is very easy physically, but you've got some of those teleports that you may have to memo, because some of those teleports transition into some extra notes, and I guess you just have to learn the song to get all of those transitions correctly. Yeah, see, like this 5 teleports transitions into like 1 more hit, and that you have to memo. And this quintuplet is absolutely fucked. It's OD6. It's 1/5. It's 1/5, but it's kind of offset in a weird way. But it is OD6, so you can essentially play it as a quintuplet.
Nice.
But yeah, kind of a stutter section here, and I kind of love this execution of SV, if I dare say so myself as the creator. And you've got a little bit of a break here, but that break is going to transition into the most messed up section I've ever charted, ever. But yeah. So,
Is this the part?
Yeah, this is the part. Now let's go.
Oh. Right, I remember
It
this.
speaks for itself. The gaps are there, but I suppress them.
They're very, you just can't really see them that well.
And warning, something is gonna come up as well. That's an overlap.
Yeah, we made it legal.
Yeah, that's an overlap, but it's only an overlap by 1 millisecond, so it is possible to 1 million this. We've tested this.
Yeah, extensive research.
Extensive research. Thank you, Sparxe, by the way. And yeah, and the sections up until the end are going to be repeats of previous ones, and that's Spider Tank for you. And 3 minutes and 12 seconds. That is not representative of the drain time. I think the drain time is less than 2 minutes, actually, because the intro is actually like 20 seconds long.
Oh. Well, thank you for that map, Patarajas. 2.29 stars, by the way. Definitely not indicative of the true difficulty. But that just leaves one map remaining in the pool. And you know what it is? It is the tiebreaker.
Yep, so if you find yourself tied 5-5, somehow did not find a way to win this match outright, we are moving on to the tiebreaker. It is going to be Chroma Surge for the semifinals.
Yeah, by Sad Keyboard Guy, Mintian, and Sleepless. Quite a collab. And this is nearly 6 minutes, so you're in for a ride. Though this LN intro kind of covers like 30 seconds.
Yeah, just a bit of a primer for what is to come. I mean, you could very easily find yourself behind very early on if you maybe a little bit nervous going into it, releasing a little bit early, releasing a little bit late. But I'm pretty sure there are plenty of tricks and surprises in store later on to kind of even the playing field a little bit.
I'm glad Basile's made it back just in time.
Yeah, the adventuring party returns.
So that burst is 1/5, so it's not as bad as 1/6. But here is when the 1/6 bursts start. And this is a 190 BPM, so it's 20 BPM faster than last week's tiebreaker. You could kind of call it like the big brother of Ayun from last week.
And as we continue on here, similar motifs to last week's tiebreaker, a lot of disjointed 1/4 with these LNs in between, but you get some very aggressive doublet transitions that, oh boy, can easily spike those to reset your combo moving forth into the next third.
And coming up here is going to be a never-ending stream.
I mean, you get the accents to kind of keep your hands in check if you do have the note colorings different on the LNs at least, so
It's still going.
kind of put on a stopwatch at this point, but
There it
eventually
is.
it does come to an end, and you're greeted with a bit of an LN break section. As we get into the next build up here. reintroduce the 1/4, something a little bit more bog standard for maybe the more rice-oriented players to rebuild some of their accuracy from the opening gauntlet, and we begin to approach the back half of the map.
And the LNs come back in as you come into the build-up for the main chorus of the map. Oh, actually no, this isn't the main chorus yet. It's just the next drop, which is kind of stream-based as well, but you do have the occasional bursts in between, as well as some surprisingly tight releases.
Yeah, for sure. I really do appreciate that some of these streams are having their accents earmarked with, in some cases, an LN to denote the accents, and then completely reversing it where you have a rice note denoting the accent on an LN stream. That's pretty tasteful bit of mapping if you maybe perchance use this skin or previous edition skin to keep those colors in check. It's a very decorative.
And there the chorus was almost full LN, which in comparison to this is basically full rice. This has some very interesting bursts right there, like it's offset by like a third, but yeah, this is going to be the main LN tester. This is full LN as well, except for those notes, and then it's a stream.
Yeah, I can imagine transitioning into this section, either overstreaming or understreaming, you can just basically say goodbye to full percentage points of your accuracy if you're not too careful. But overall, I mean, if you can handle 1/4 streaming for that long of a time, and you can kind of brush off some of the LN difficulty found throughout, then this might be a good comeback spot before you approach this ending. We have seen some of the tiebreakers the last couple of weekends go down to the wire here, and I expect this to be no different. Gonna be duking it out, throwing some haymakers back and forth as the technicality starts to increase a little bit before you get into this outro.
And that's it. Very intense outro. It kind of mirrored the intro a little bit, but just made the bursts a lot denser and more frequent. Definitely going to be a treat to see when or if it happens.
For sure, and
that's it.
That will do it for the semifinals map pool showcase. As always, thank you all for watching along with us as we test how the final remaining players are going to fare, see who punches their ticket into the finals bracket. For those of you still in the tournament, do remember, if you are in the losers bracket, you still have your conditional matches to worry about. So be sure to expect to play at the very least 2 matches if you do win your first one. Don't want to win by default any more than we already have. And the schedule should be getting released sometime soon. The map pool as well should be uploaded sometime in the near future, so definitely watch out for that. Sparks, you got anything else left to add?
Yeah, that's pretty much everything. Good luck to all the players with this pool. You will probably need it. But yeah, have fun practicing, and until next time, goodbye.
See y'all later.